But let's talk about someone a little less likable, and that is the NWSL commissioner, which, Austin, I hear you have some updates for me on that current game a few weeks ago
Yeah,
that was way too hot to play and kept getting delayed and that debacle.
hmm
So if you want to share that.
ab- absolutely. So, as everyone is well aware, the August 16th game against Orlando Pride, it was supposed to be the game of the year. The only problem is it was super hot in Kansas City. So, if you haven't heard it before now, there was delay after delay after delay. It ended up coming out that the commissioner threatened the teams. In particular, she threatened the KC Current with sanctions because they didn't go through the proper protocol when it comes to deciding whether a game should be played or not played. Now, this is in the backdrop of the fact that this was a nationally televised CBS game, and the NWSL had a particularly high interest in having this game broadcasted nationally. So I did some digging, some reporting recently came out, and I did just kind of want to talk through things and kind of talk about what we know as of now. With the NWSL, the whole idea is if the temperature is above 92.3 degrees, they're not going to play. So the way they do it, they have someone do a reading about 45 minutes before a game starts. And if everything's good to go, players can go ahead and warm up. Then they'll do another reading before the game starts. Then we're free to play. Everybody has fun.
Thank God they
Now,
thank God they have that rule, and thank God they'll never change it. Go on.
I know, right? And it's funny you say that because keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your mind.
Oh,
Just file that away.
okay.
So, so they use a wet bulb to measure the heat. What a wet bulb is, I'm not sure, but they have to measure it in the middle of the center circle. So the direct center of the football pitch, that's where they take the temperature readings. Now, when they did the temperature reading that day, there was a cloud that happened to pass over around the same time they were getting the reading. So the temperature read 91.8 degrees. So that means temperature wise, we're good to play. Now, when that cloud passed away, of course, the temperature rose higher than 92.3 degrees. KC Current was concerned about this, in particular their medical staff. They talked to the chief medical officer, who is a doctor, Dr. Cindy Cheng, and she said, you know what, let's do another temperature reading. That second temperature reading showed 95.6 degrees, which is higher than 92.3 degrees.
Yeah,
So what did that mean?
just a little bit.
Exactly, just by a little bit. It's not like, and looking at their rules, they don't factor in heat index, so they don't care what it feels like. It's actual air temperature. So it can feel like it's 200 degrees outside. That's fine, as long as the air temperature is 92.3. That's a whole other discussion, another problem within itself. But bottom line is, it was too hot to play. Dr. Chang, as well as the KC Current, were like, you know what, we have to delay this. We don't have a choice. The NWSL commissioner, Jessica Berman, she then decided to call the Current and be like, you have to play this game. And she threatened to fine the club for breaking protocol. Protocol in the original rules and regulations for the club, it does allow the chief medical officer for a team to be involved in that process. So no rules were broken by the Current. I believe Berman just saw the 91.8 degree and was like, why are you delaying the game despite that? But in reality, the temperature was over 95 degrees. Now, another piece of information that is important to mention here is the fact that the NWSL changed their extreme heat policy. Little did anybody know. And why is this important? They didn't raise the temperature you can play at. No, they were much more underhanded than that. What they did is they limited the ability of on field officials to make a decision to delay the game. So they took the power out of the hands of a Dr. Chang, chief medical officer of a team, to say, you know what, it is too hot. We need to delay this game. So now it is totally in control of the league. Hopefully, they still do abide to that temperature cutoff, but no on field official, aka somebody who's actually there in the heat, cannot make a decision in the best interest of players and fans to delay a game.
And it's so funny, real quick, that
Yeah.
the commissioner doesn't know the demographic of her league, like the fans of it, because if if it's too hot to play, let's say probably next year, because we probably won't have to deal with that again this year. If it's too hot to play, and I think the players just won't is the thing. And
Yeah.
if the commissioner's gonna somehow lash out at them, fines, suspensions, whatever it may be, she's never gonna survive that, because this league is very forward thinking and very, I think, cares about the players as opposed to anything else. So I just think that's funny that she thinks
Yeah.
she's gonna like possibly get away with something like that in the future.
It really was, and it was kind of a slap in the face. Like after, a couple weeks ago, I was, praising her and the league for what they've done. And I still do stand by like what they've done. But with the player safety and in this case fan safety as well, it just doesn't make any sense. And this is really strike two for the NWSL this year. Because earlier this year, Savvy King from Bay FC, she had cardiac arrest. She collapsed during the game. They still continued to play the game. And NWSL afterwards was like, yeah, we did drop the ball. At least they owned up and acknowledged it. But in that moment where you have to make the hard decision, you call that game. You don't force those players to continue playing after what they just witnessed. So this is really strike two for the league. Of course, with the Savvy King incident, hopefully they learn from it. Hopefully nothing like that ever happens again. But if it does, hopefully appropriate steps are taken. And then similar to this situation, hopefully appropriate steps are taken. But it already seems like that's not the case with the changing of these rules, kind of underhandedly without much publicity, to kind of sneak it in there to kind of restrict the ability of a chief medical officer to make that decision for the safety of the players and the fans. And I really don't know kind of what the goal was with this rule change. Of course, they'll probably find a way to justify it, but in my opinion, I didn't agree. I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, and
But go ahead.
we found out that the NWSL Player Association flagged some of these hot day Kansas City games back in January, which is even crazier that they just essentially got ignored. I just thought that was a little wild.
Everyone knows Midwest in the middle of August, it's just about as hot as anywhere in the country. And like you said, they did flag these games for the potential that it could be really hot. In that case, what should NWSL do? You either make the game an 11 o'clock game or you make it a primetime game.
Yeah.
But of course, they were probably at the liberty of CBS, and 3 o'clock was the only time CBS gave them that day. So they just said, well, what the heck? We'll just roll with it.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like if the Player Association doesn't get to flag games before they agree to a time with CBS, then they need to change how that works. And if they do get to flag games before that, then the commissioner really shouldn't be crying about losing millions of dollars because she was warned.